Terrifying secrets, woman's sinister name changed to escape her haunted abusive husband revealed. Sarah Mitchell sat on the edge of her bed in the dimly lit room, gripping the fraying blanket like a lifeline. The quiet of Harmony Grove felt suffocating, yet somehow reminiscent of the terror she'd fled. Whispers curled through the air, taunting her. Sarah. Sarah. They echoed like distant laughter, igniting memories of her husband Tom's charming but menacing smile. That smile had concealed years of torment, each cruel encounter a reminder that love could twist into a weapon. It had been a desperate act changing her name, fleeing under the cloak of night, but Sarah believed she could start anew, shield her children from the darkness. She hoped Harmony Grove's sun-drenched streets would paint over her past. But as she unpacked, a creeping dread began its insidious crawl over her senses. She glossed over the strange symbols etched into her porch, ill-defined yet foreboding, and tossed a glance toward the murmuring neighbors. The cheerful faces twisted into masks whenever her eyes met theirs, and their laughter turned to hushed whispers behind closed doors. Then came the night she noticed the first ominous sign, twisted circles carved into the porch wood. Thick shadows hunched over her like silent judges. Panic surged through her as she lay awake, heart racing, cool sweat sliding down her back. Each creak of the old house felt like a footstep closer to the truth that claws at her sanity. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The next day, she ventured into town. The bright sun-swept streets were deceptive, filled with picturesque happy families and children's laughter. She approached the local police station, seeking a voice of reason, but the bored faces behind the desk ignited her unease. Their disinterested gazes slid past her, dismissing her fears like snow melting under the hot sun. "We have no record of your problems," one officer muttered, a curt finality lacing his tone. Days slipped into a haze as fear coiled tighter in her chest. Glances morphed into scrutinizing stares. She felt the weight of their suspicion, like invisible chains binding her. She learned of the tales that haunted the outskirts of Harmony Grove, women disgraced who vanished into the shadows of committing even the slightest breach against their husbands. What did these stories have to do with her? Sarah found herself drawn to a neighbor she thought she could trust. Over cups of lukewarm coffee, the woman shared whispered legends as if they were common knowledge. "Some say the woods don't forget. You become part of them," she whispered, eyes glinting with an unknown glee. Realization shattered through Sarah. Her secret was not hers alone. The community thrived on its own protected darkness. Just as she opened her mouth to confront the truth, her phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number, a cold dread washing over her. "You can't run forever, Sarah. The woods never forget." With that message looming in her mind, the shadows lengthened, tightening their grip. She was trapped in the very town of her escape, the peaceful facade cracking apart. How far would she have to go to protect her children from Tom's reach and from the very neighbors who claimed to offer her sanctuary? The morning sky turned gray, heavy with promises of rain that matched Sarah's swirling anxiety. She felt it pulling at her, deep within, like cold fingers curling around her heart. The darkness didn't just linger in her past, it was here, too, wrapping around her in Harmony Grove. Determined to shake the feeling, she decided to take her children Jake and Lily out for a walk. Maybe breathing the fresh air would help clear her mind. As they walked, she forced a smile for their sake, but every glance from passing neighbors felt like a pointed finger, accusing her of something unnameable. "Mom, what's wrong?" Jake asked, his youthful innocence mingling with concern. "Nothing, honey. Just tired," she replied, her voice shaking. The sound of it frightened her, a tremor giving away the turmoil inside. They veered toward the edge of town, where the trees thickened and the sunlight struggled to break through the canopy. Sarah stopped short, her breath catching in her throat. Beyond the trees lay a small clearing, a patch of ground where the locals said strange things happened. It was the same place the woman in town had mentioned, where the woods didn't forget. She could almost hear the whispers again, creeping out from the depths, echoing in her head. "Can we go play by the trees?" Lily asked, eyes shining with excitement. "No. Stay close to me," Sarah insisted, gripping her daughter's hand tightly, an anchor to the present. The laughter of her children felt distant, muffled by the specter of her fears. She glanced back, and for a moment, thought she saw one of her neighbors standing, arms crossed, deep within the trees, just out of sight. The figure was unnaturally still. When she blinked, it vanished, leaving Sarah's pulse racing with dread. Once they returned to the house, Sarah realized she couldn't stay idle any longer. Curiosity gnawed at her now, pushing her to uncover the source of the community's shadows. If there was a dark secret, she needed to know what it was. That evening, she grabbed her flashlight and slipped out into the night, the world soft and silent as the gloom of the trees enveloped her. The air was cool and thick with the scent of damp earth, and the woods loomed on either side like towering sentinels, watching her every move. With every step, the weight of dread accumulated. Shadows danced in the moonlight, playing tricks on her mind, and the deeper she went, the more she felt that something was wrong. An unnatural quiet hung over the woods, a stillness that screamed for her to turn back. Suddenly, a rustle behind her made her whip around. Heart pounding in her chest, she aimed the flashlight into the darkness, illuminating empty space and gnarled roots. "Hello?" she called, her voice trembling, mixing with the rustle of leaves. Nothing replied. Her breath quickened, fear coiling tighter in her stomach. Just as she turned to leave, she stumbled upon the clearing, and her heart sank there. At the center, lay more of the twisted symbols she had seen on her porch. But this time, they formed a large circle, reeking of something ancient and sinister, marked by others just like it, yet strangely alive. The hairs on her neck stood on end. She needed to leave, but something tugged at her, urging her to take a closer look. A gasp stopped her in her tracks, breaking the silence, a warped whisper threading through her mind. "Welcome back, Sarah." Panic surged, and she spun around, searching for the voice but finding only the trees, thick and whispering. What had she stepped into? The ground beneath her trembled ever so slightly, and even the air felt heavy, as if it breathed along with her. She knew she should turn back, but a chilling thought crept into her mind. What if she was already too late? As she stumbled back, her phone buzzed again, the screen lighting up to reveal another message: "We're waiting." In that moment, she realized she had unlocked a door she could never close. How would she protect her children now? And somewhere deep in the woods, something stirred, watching her with hungry eyes. The flashlight flickered, casting nervous flickers on the trees. Sarah's hands trembled, the cold metal sending a shiver up her arm. Each blink felt like a judgment, and panic overtook her. She turned to run, heart hammering, but the ground lurched beneath her, sticking her to the earth like glue. "Where are you going?" The whisper slithered through the air, curling around her throat. It was deeper now, more recognizable, and she felt it like a cold wind slicing through her. Who are you?" she stammered, fighting the urge to scream. Shadows shifted, elongating and twisting in unnatural shapes, almost alive. The whisper seemed to laugh, soft and cruel, echoing through the clearing. "Your past has returned, Sarah. It craves you." A flush of horror crashed over her. Her mind raced back through memories she had buried, the moments that made her want to escape Harmony Grove. The confrontations. The loneliness. Could this be connected to her life before? Did she bring this darkness with her? She turned to leave again but found herself pulled deeper into the circle of symbols. Each step was harder to lift, a weight pressing down on her chest, dragging her under in a way she never imagined. Desperation clawed at her throat as her feet made contact with yet another strange marking, sending a shockwave through her body. In that moment, she felt the ground pulse like a heartbeat. The whispers sharpened into syllables, echoing in her mind: "You have to stay. You can't escape." A branch cracked behind her, and she swung around, desperate. The silhouette that loomed at the edge of the clearing was now closer, pulled in from the shadows. It seemed to shimmer with the moonlight, yet also absorbed the rays like a predator. The face was vague, familiar yet distorted, an uncanny reflection that sent her reeling. Was it one of her neighbors? Or was it something worse? Sarah, the figure breathed, an echo of her name that still made her shiver. Every instinct screamed to run, but her feet remained rooted in place, a trap set long ago. Get away from me! She shouted, voice cracking, but they only took a step forward, a chilling smile revealing too many teeth. Did you think you could leave us behind? It taunted. The woods remember you. They always will. She stumbled back, the symbols glinting in the light of her flashlight. Visions twisted in her mind, faces sliding in and out, the laughter of children mixed with screams. She forced her eyes shut, praying it was all a nightmare, something she could wake up from. The air crackled with tension, thick with a scent of decay, and the chill wrapped around her ankles. With every breath she took, Sarah felt the weight of the woods, like cold tendrils wrapping around her limbs, steadying herself before a deadly plunge. The warmth of her children's laughter echoed faintly in the distance, pulling her mind away from the horror. I have to leave them? The figure interrupted, voice laced with malevolence. They are entwined with this darkness now too. In that moment, she had a realization. This sinister connection wasn't just about her. They were part of it, linked to the very soil of Harmony Grove. Struggling against the invisible chains, panic surged again, igniting her energy like fuel to a fire. She tore the flashlight's beam away from the figure, holding it high, illuminating the symbols again. As if sensing her resolve, the symbols pulsated, glowing brighter in response. What are you? She gasped, desperation melding with fury. Just a memory of who you once were. A sudden gust whisked through the clearing, tossing leaves around as if stirring old secrets. In that fleeting, chaotic moment, Sarah spotted a small, unmarked path leading away from the clearing. Hope flickered, a last caress of light, and she bolted for it. But as she ran, she heard the voice call after her, a final echo that sank deep into her soul. We'll be waiting, always, heart racing. She broke through the edge of the clearing, knowing she had just skirted the edge of something ancient and terrible. Now, as she stumbled into the safety of the trees, she felt the shadows lurking behind her. Something was waiting at home, at the very door she had once closed, and she had awoken it. What had she unleashed? And what would it mean for Jake and Lily? Somewhere in the darkness, the eyes watched, waiting for their moment to strike. With the woods behind, she could sense ominous murmurs turning into a roar. What if this was only the beginning? The cold air bit at her skin as Sarah sprinted blindly, heart racing as she pushed branches aside, cracking through the underbrush like a wild animal. Each rustle whispered warnings, every snap echoed with the urgency of being pursued. She didn't dare look back. The memory of that figure haunted her, a reflection of her past, twisted and malevolent. As she ran, the shadows thickened, wrapping around her like a choking fog. The laugh from the woods ripped through her thoughts, a jagged shard that pierced her sanity. It knew her name. It knew everything. But worse, what had it done to her children? Stay focused. She hissed to herself, pushing harder through the darkness. She could still taste the fear, sharp and bitter, and it made her sick. She envisioned their faces, Jake and Lily, innocent and unaware of the darkness creeping ever closer. Suddenly, she stumbled, almost falling to the ground as her foot caught on something buried beneath the leaves. With a gasp, she righted herself, feeling every heartbeat thunder in her ears. The flashlight flickered again, barely illuminating the twisted roots of an old tree, gnarled and ominous. The forest seemed to shiver around her, as if it were alive. She froze, listening, just listening, but all she could hear was the pounding of her own heart and a distant echo, familiar yet distant, entwined with shadows. It was the kids. Their laughter rang through the trees, a cruel mockery that twisted in her heart. Jake! Lily! She shouted, voice cracking. Panic tightened in her chest, a vice of fear gripping her. The woods pulsed with a life of its own, swelling with it, seeming to breathe deep in response to her cries. A rustle to her left jolted her into action, pulling her from the brink of despair. Sarah moved again, adrenaline surging, darting deeper into the dark labyrinth of trees. Each step felt heavier, like the ground itself pulled her down into an abyss. She had to escape, but escape to where? The woods felt like a prison that closed tighter every second. Then she spotted a flicker of light in the distance, an illumination through the thick branches. Relief warmed her momentarily, propelling her towards it. That flicker could be hope. But something clawed at her intuition. Hope can deceive. As she approached, she heard the laughter again, clearer now. Was it real? The uncertainty seared through her, mingling with terror. She burst through the underbrush and stopped short. It was a clearing, alive with swirling lights that danced like fireflies. But that warmth was deceiving. The laughter wasn't her children, it was twisted and cagey, wrapping around her mind like tendrils of smoke. Figures danced at the edge, their movements jerky and distorted, faces blurred and shifting. Instant dread flowed through her veins. Come join us, Sarah, they beckoned, each voice tinged with a playful malice that made her stomach churn. She could feel them circling her, shadows mixing with the light, forming grotesque tableaus of her deepest fears. No! She screamed, desperation clawing at her throat. Get away from me! Terror swallowed her as she jerked back, nearly tripping over an unseen root. She was losing herself, losing Jake and Lily in the process. Please. I need to find them. Silence enveloped her for a breath, only to be shattered by that familiar voice, the distortion creeping back. They are already part of this now. You can't save them. You can't even save yourself. A piercing pain raced through her scalp as the air grew thick with a heavy weight. Sarah knew she was entangled in something beyond her understanding, something she thought she could outrun. The woods held secrets that weren't just of her past, but of the children she loved. Fingers trembling, she raised the flashlight, illuminating her surroundings. Shadows writhed in protest, shrieking as light touched them. Yet the light revealed more than just the haunted figures. It unveiled the symbols again, gleaming with a sinister hunger. With an unsteady breath, Sarah took a step back, glancing wildly around. What do you want from us? She shouted, willing the fear away, though it clambered harder at her insides. Your fear, Sarah, they replied, their faces merging into a single writhing mass. It feeds us. Her breath hitched. The woods thrummed with anticipation. The light flickered one final time, and the cries of her children faded beneath the roar of impending chaos. Then she understood. To save them, she needed to confront the horrific truth buried inside her. Would she dare? The shadows lunged toward her as she grasped the flashlight tightly, a dwindling last hope, but what lurked beyond was worse than any nightmare. What sacrifice would she have to make to save them from the monstrous entity of Harmony Grove? The shadows lunged, racing towards her with a ferocity that twisted her gut. Sarah turned to run, adrenaline spiking in her blood as she sprinted into the dense foliage. The flashlight bobbed unsteadily in her grasp, flickering like her fading hope. Jake! Lily! Yelled her voice, but the words fell flat against the overwhelming silence of the woods, swallowed by the monstrous curtains of night. Branches whipped at her face as she fought against the dark, her heart a frantic drumbeat. Ahead lay nothing but a consuming blackness, thick as tar. She was losing herself in the cacophony of whispers and laughter that echoed, rising and falling like a tide threatening to drown her. Each breath felt sharp, as if a hidden tension surged through the air, growing heavier with every step she took. Sarah stumbled again, her hands scraping against the rough bark of a tree as she steadied herself. The chill of the night seeped through her clothes, wrapping around her bones, filling her with ice-cold dread. Stop. Please. She begged the darkness, her voice cracking as the figures encroached, laughter morphing into an eerie choir. Just let me find them. But the shadows only thickened, drawing closer, their faces grotesque shapes that flickered in and out of existence. For a moment, they halted, lingering at the periphery of her vision, waiting, each flick of their eyes dragging her deeper into despair. Suddenly, a sharp cry pierced through the clamor, a child's scream, unmistakable and splintering. Sarah's heart fell. It was Jake. Jake! She cried out, desperation clawing at her throat. I'm coming. Without thinking, she dashed towards the sound, the flashlight's beam flickering feebly, guiding her like a wavering star. The laughter faded, replaced by the sound of snapping branches, a brutal melody of broken dreams. Jake! She shouted again, pushing through a thick bush that scraped against her arms. Finally breaking free, she stepped into another clearing. The unnatural lights flickered frantically, hovering like warning spirits, their elusive glow casting long, twisted shadows that danced wickedly against the trees. And there he was, standing small and vulnerable, surrounded by the grotesque figures that seemed to loom closer. She felt the ground shift beneath her. Every instinct screamed for her to protect him, to pull him away. But she hesitated, frozen by an unseen force that constricted her chest. Mommy! Jake called, his voice strangled. The moment stretched, an eternity born on the whispers of the woods. But then the figures turned their faces towards him, grinning in a way that sent a cold shudder through her soul. No! Get away from him! Panic surged through her as she lunged forward, but the shadows moved to block her path, knotted together in a mass of despair. Join us, Sarah, the voices twined through the air, sinister and beguiling. Let us show you the truth. Suddenly, the light faltered in her hand, flickering with a desperate gasp. In that heartbeat of darkness, Sarah saw something glimmer on a nearby tree trunk. Symbols pulled at her gaze, sharply drawn lines that looked like a map leading to where the darkness bloomed. The shapes pulsed, vibrant, almost alive. I have to break this. I have to save him. With a deep breath, she reached for the light, the flashlight sputtering to flicker faintly back to life. Yet as she directed its beam towards Jake, the shadows receded slightly, but didn't vanish. The hope was stifled, twisted into something monstrous. Lily! Where is she? Her heart raced as her instinct screamed. The laughter, the haunting echo of children's giggles mixed into the twilight, layered with the dread that circled the air like smoke. Sarah Jake's voice trembled. I can't feel Lily, not her too. The realization crashed into her. The woods had tasted her fear, and now it hungered for more. A choice lay before her, ugly and dangerous. To confront her past, to peel back the layers of guilt that had formed her reality. She had done this, she had buried the truth. But would she let the shadows consume her? Softly, a whisper settled in her mind, a sinister invitation. Choose, Sarah. You can end this. The woods shifted, and a terrifying truth loomed, darker and more intimate than any shadow. Would she pay the price to save her children, or would fear seal their fate forever in the grasp of Harmony Grove? Unbearable silence wrapped around her, and she braced for the decision that could alter everything. What was she willing to sacrifice to face the darkness within? Mommy! I need you. Jake's wail cut through the thickening silence, tearing at Sarah's resolve like a jagged knife. She fought against the invasive panic rising in her chest, pushing it down, forcing it aside. She couldn't let fear win. With renewed determination, she darted toward her son. The shadows shifted and twisted, their forms writhing as if they were alive. An oppressive weight pressed down on her, urging her to turn back, to flee. But she couldn't. Not now. Stay back. Sarah yelled at the figures, who only laughed inhuman and mocking, as if her words were mere toys to be tossed away. The light flickered again, its glow uncertain, weaving a tapestry of gloom around them. Jake! She reached out, her fingers brushing against the tendrils of darkness. He was just beyond them, just a few steps away. She could feel her heart racing, a wild bird trapped in a cage. But with each step she took, the shadows lunged closer, clawed hands reaching toward her, begging no, demanding a sacrifice. Sarah, the whisper wove through the air, wrapping around her thoughts. Join us, reunite with her, you know you want to. The flickering flashlight bathed the clearing in brief bursts of light, revealing glimpses of grotesque faces, twisted in an unholy grin. It reminded her of nightmares of things hidden in the dark, long thought buried. Lily is out there. Panic twisted her voice, but with the utterance, Sarah felt something shift. The whispers became sharper, like shards of glass, cutting through the fog of fear. Your pain is her pain, they sang. Your guilt, your shame. Relinquish your strength. Join the shadows, no. She shouted, and the word resonated within her. With every ounce of willpower, Sarah turned her thoughts to her daughter. Memories of laughter, of innocence, blossoming against the backdrop of a lost childhood. If she had to confront the truth, the real truth behind her fractured family, she had to break free. Adjusting the flashlight, she pointed it directly at the symbol on the tree, tracing its edges with her mind. It pulsed, brighter now as if it sensed her defiance. I want to let you take them, she declared, her voice gaining momentum. Not again. Not anymore. The shadows screamed, a cacophony of rage echoing through the woods. They thrashed and squirmed, spat venom and despair. The split second Sarah hesitated brought a rush of icy wind, full of whispers clawing at her heart. Then sacrifice your truth. Her eyes flicked toward Jake, still ensnared in the grasp of darkness, his own light dimming. Jake! Hold on. I'm coming. But with each shout came more echoes, more laughter, more shadows. The forest trembled, branches whipped, and a heavy silence fell. She lunged toward her son, but the shadows surged, crashing against her like a wave, stealing her breath, her strength. Pain lanced through her body as they wrapped around her, every strand pulling her deeper into the void. Just then, a soft tug on her sleeve made her look back. Jake gripped her arm, his tiny body trembling. Mommy, please. His voice was hoarse, a fragile thread woven through the darkness. An anger surged within her, a fiery determination unlike anything she had felt before. Then let it burn. Suddenly, she wrenched free from the shadow's grasp, the flashlight igniting in response, spilling light that cut through the darkness like a blade. The sinister faces recoiled, metamorphosing into snatches of fleeting regret, but it wasn't enough. To save them, she had to embrace her truth. Sarah took a deep breath, grounding herself in the memory of Lily's laughter, her bright eyes, dense happiness that had once filled their home. She held it close, clenching it tightly in her heart. Show me. She shouted, the words bursting forth like a dam breaking. The shadows paused, their sinister grins faltering as the air crackled with impending release. In that moment, Sarah felt a portal of possibilities unfurling around her, daring her to enter and challenge the shadows once and for all. The path would be treacherous, laden with her darkest memories, but hope surged anew. Uncertainty gnawed at her, but as the shadows writhed in anticipation, she knew she had to step forward, into the depths of their realm. With one determined step, she dove toward the darkness. Let us go, Jake. But as she crossed the threshold, a cold hand gripped her ankle. Your truth is your curse, you cannot escape. The chilling voice echoed in the void as she descended into the waiting abyss, darkness stretching infinitely before her. Would Sarah risk everything to unearth the horrifying truth, or would the shadows entrap her forever? The fall into darkness was suffocating. Cold fingers wrapped tighter around Sarah's ankle, pulling her down as if the shadows themselves were hungry for her despair. Panic swelled in her throat, clawing to escape, but she forced herself to focus on Jake. His terrified face sparked a fire within her, one she thought long extinguished. Jake! She screamed. The darkness thickened, swirling around them, echoing with a chorus of haunting whispers. They sang of hopelessness, the words spinning a web that tightened around her heart. You're lost. You cannot save him, nor yourself. But with every ounce of terror, every flicker of doubt, she felt the warmth of resilience pulse through her. It was a reminder of love, of courage, and the unyielding bond between mother and son. That flickering light within her ignited even brighter. Let go of us. She thrashed against the tendrils wrapping around her, confident that if she fought hard enough, she could break free. For Jake, for Lily, she had to try. The shadows hissed, recoiling at the strength of her defiance. You cannot fight reality. The past is your prison. The words rang true, ricocheting in her mind. The past haunted her, the bitter memories, the shadow of guilt, the face of loss. Sarah's breath caught as glimpses of Lily's laughter mixed with sorrow swirled around her. For just a moment, she hesitated, the weight of grief pushing her down. Mommy. Jake pleaded, his voice breaking her reverie. In that instant, Sarah pushed away the flood of memories clouding her mind. How many times had she let the shadows win? No more. She couldn't let the past swallow their future. With renewed force, she dropped the flashlight, letting the beam of light dance upon the blackness, illuminating grotesque shapes and faces grinning back at her. You're wrong. I'm stronger than my pain. A tremor quaked through the shadows, stopping their advance. Sarah reached for Jake, her fingers finally encircling his wrist, pulling him closer. We'll face this together. Together, they braced themselves against the encroaching darkness. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony of voices threatening to suffocate them. Sacrifice. Relinquish your heart. Flashing images of Lily, vibrant and carefree, danced in front of her eyes. Sarah squeezed her son's hand tighter. What do you think we'll find at the end of this nightmare? She shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. Freedom? Or fear? I choose to see the truth. Suddenly, the shadows recoiled, as if hit by her declaration. The piercing but fragile light from the flashlight glimmered like a beacon, piercing through the abyss of despair. Let us go. Jake cried, his tiny voice like a spark igniting flames around them. In response, an ear-splitting scream erupted from the darkness, an unholy sound laced with rage and anguish. It sent waves of tremors through Sarah's core. She had awoken something. Fear the truth you've buried. The voice hissed as shadows whipped into a furious frenzy, blind spots closing in around them. But Sarah held on tightly. Show us. She bellowed, pulling Jake fully into the light. The air crackled with energy, swirling with visions of their pasts, painful and raw. And just like that, she felt a shift, a change in the fabric of the air, an opening. The shadows surged one last time, desperate to maintain their grip, and for a brief moment, Sarah thought they might win. But no. The combined light, her love and Jake's innocence, began to swallow the darkness. Together. She shouted, feeling unstoppable now. Enough is enough. With their hands clasped tightly, they surged forward, the void stretching in a sickening way, revealing layers of shadows that seemed to peel back like the skin of a decaying fruit. Then everything stopped. A moment of chilling silence blanketed them. The shadows hung heavy in the air, coiled back for the final blow. Sarah's heart raced as she felt the floor beneath them begin to tremble, like a heartbeat, as though something deep within the darkness was waking up. What is going on? Jake's voice quivered next to her, fear creeping into his tone. With the world shifting, Sarah's grip tightened on Jake's hand. I don't know, but it's not over yet. Suddenly, a blinding light erupted around them, shadows scattering like cockroaches under a sudden sun. But it wasn't just light, it was a whirlwind, revealing faces she recognized. Sarah, a voice from the past beckoned. Could it be? Could she really confront everything she had lost? She felt Jake's trust grounding her. The truth was waiting. What would she find when she reached the core of the shadows? Would it be salvation, or something darker than she ever imagined? The light swallowed them whole, a swirling tapestry of brightness against the relentless midnight. Recognizable faces danced around Sarah, weaving in and out of view, their expressions caught between joy and despair. She blinked, heart hammering, as Lily's laughter echoed in her mind, but she couldn't see her. Mom, Jake whimpered, pulling at her sleeve. The fear in his voice spiraled into a fresh wave of desperation within her, but she forced herself to stay steady. If she faltered now, they could be lost forever. Hold on tight, she whispered fiercely, squeezing Jake's small hand. The light felt dangerously alive, pulsating with the strange energy of the tangled emotions laid bare before her. We can do this. As they moved, the faces shifted, drifting into a thick fog that twisted and changed before settling into clearer forms. Sarah, the voice echoed again, but was now accompanied by the heavy weight of sorrow. The shadows bristled at her, angry and rejecting, as if they knew something Sarah had yet to discover. Who are you? She shouted, forcing her voice above the mounting chaos. Out of the swirling light, a figure emerged, worn and frayed, a shadow of a former self. It was her past, the hurt, the guilt wrapped in a familiar face, her own. Your name is a prison, the figure hissed, lips curling into a twisted grin. It was Sarah, but not the one she remembered. This version was stripped bare, haunted, trapped inside memories she thought she de-exorcised. No. Panic surged again, a spine-tingling fear grasping her throat. The shadows writhed, gloating as her past reached for her. I'm not trapped. I'm not defined by you. It's all you are, the reflection sneered, hands clawing as if trying to break free into the light. You are nothing without your secrets, your sins. With a forceful breath, Sarah turned to Jake. Look at me. She urged, forcing herself to remain steady in the midst of horrid revelation. We are more than what the darkness says. We are stronger, remember? Jake nodded, his small face set with determination that mirrored her own. The shadows recoiled momentarily at their unity. Together, he echoed, his voice brave against the cacophony threatening to drown them both. The figure twisted with rage. They'll find you, they'll take him. It lunged forward, a twisted mass of regrets trying to claw its way through the flickering light. A wave of dread washed over her, leaving her breathless. Panic flooded her thoughts. Could she really protect Jake? Could they truly escape? Leave him alone. Sarah screamed, adrenaline ripping through her veins, but doubt crept in when she looked around. The swarm of shadows surged closer, hungry for their fear, eager to break her resolve. The sheer weight of grief mingled with anger lashed at her. It was more than just the shadows now. The darkness held their past, her mistakes, the pain she thought was buried under years of denial. It wrapped around her like chains, threatening to pull her back to that suffocating place where past experiences intertwined painfully with the present. Shaking her head violently, she pushed the memories aside. No. She yelled. Not today. The light flared around them, casting the twisted figures to the edges. The past shrank, momentarily stilled by their resolve. We can't let it take us, she declared, heart pounding as they stepped deeper into the gleaming brightness. But then, as if in response to her defiance, the shadows erupted in furious anger. You want to escape your past. The reflection of Sarah grinned, now dark and terrible. It's waiting for you in the silence. Sarah felt a chill run through her, the words wrapping around her like a suffocating blanket, pressing down onto her chest. The truth was there, lurking and ready to strike. Faced with so many insecurities, doubt threatened to tear her resolve apart. With every ounce of strength, Sarah shouted, "We will not become what you wish," and pulled Jake closer, bound together by the fragile strength of hope and love. But amidst the chaos, a chilling whisper echoed from the dark edges, one that filled her with despair. You can't run from the truth, Sarah. It's a part of you. Desperate, she cast her gaze around her, looking for anything that could save them from the pained truth of their own lives. What would unfold next in this dark realm? What twisted reality awaited them in the shadows they could feel closing fast? The moment they pressed further into the blinding light, Sarah felt a surge of warmth clash against the icy grip of shadows crawling at her back. The voices shrieked, merging into a cacophony that deafened her senses, drowning out her thoughts. Faces floated by in the fog, silent screams etched on their mouths, and she recognized them. Friends, relatives, and even Lily. Each one a reminder of the life she had once cherished, but now felt tainted by guilt and fear. Stay close to me, Sarah yelled, desperation clawing at her throat as she gripped Jake's hand tighter. His small body trembled beside her, every pulse of light washing over him revealing the terror in his wide, innocent eyes. Then a sound cut through the chaos, a low, menacing whisper that sent shivers racing down Sarah's spine. "You can't hide forever." The darkness thickened, swirling like a storm gathering fury. "What do you want from us?" she shouted defiantly, her voice barely carrying over the oppressive weight of despair threatening to smother her. The shadows paused, as if considering, their movements slowed by her challenge. "What we want is what you owe. Your fears, your regrets, they belong to us." The reflection of her past writhed at the forefront, its grin widening. Jake stepped forward and looked up at Sarah, fear transformed to determination. "Mom, we have to keep going." "I don't like it here," he whimpered, pulling on her hand, his fear mirroring her own, yet sparking a flicker of hope. With those words, a new burst of energy surged through Sarah. "Right," she agreed, breathing deep. "We can confront this." As they moved forward, each step felt heavy, like treading through mud. The landscape around them twisted, morphing into familiar places burdened with memories. They found themselves standing in a childhood home, eerily silent but alive with echoes. A shattered mirror sat against the wall, reflecting not only their likeness but the jagged edges of their fears. The air grew thick, pulling her into a suffocating grip. Yet, amidst the desolation, something flickered, an old photograph pinned to the wall. It was a photo of her family, a moment captured in time. Lily's bright smile shone at the center, unmarred by the darkness that now threatened to envelop Sarah. "We can remember the good," she murmured, reaching for the picture. Suddenly, the shadows screeched, a furious rage unleashed. "You think memories can save you?" The ground trembled beneath their feet, debris falling from the walls. The portrait rippled and twisted, revealing not just the smiles, but the pain behind them, the weight of unspoken words, buried truths. "What if it does?" Sarah challenged, her voice steadier than she felt. The light around them shimmered, pulsating with her growing strength. "We won't be broken." The sinister reflection lunged toward Jake, fingers clawing to snatch the light away from him. "He's part of your regrets. You can't protect him." It snarled, a twisted version of her maternal instincts tugging at the fabric of her heart. "No!" Sarah roared, her cries mingling with the howls of the shadows. Fear fused with fury, and she felt it surge like fire igniting within her. She wouldn't let they take either of them. Not now, not ever. Without thinking, she reached toward Jake, her heart racing, and together they stepped back into the light. "Believe, Jake." A blinding flash erupted, scattering the shadows, but the last words of the dark figure rang ominously in the air. "You can't escape what's coming." They were thrown back, spiraling into the deepest depths of the light, Sarah's heart petrified by what awaited them. And as the brightness consumed them, a question loomed, heavy in the silence that followed. Would the depths of their own despair pull them back into the darkness? The light throbbed around them, expelling the shadows that had threatened to consume them. As Sarah and Jake tumbled through the blinding brightness, she felt her heart racing with hope and fear. What came next was unknown, a vast expanse stretching out before them, aching with possibilities. She could hear the whispers in the distance, but they were quieter now, mere murmurs in the overwhelming illumination of resilience they had forged together. "Mom?" Jake's voice trembled beside her, laced with both innocence and courage. "Are we safe?" "I think we are, sweetheart," she replied, squeezing his hand tightly as they steadied themselves. The vibrant glow pulsed around them like a heartbeat, filling them both with warmth that chased the chill from their bones. "But we need to remember. We can't forget the past. We have to face it." The ground below them rippled, shifting like a tide. Images and memories floated by, flashes of laughter and tears, but woven into the fabric of their shared experiences was an undeniable truth: they had survived. Each memory was a stepping stone, leading them away from the clutches of despair that sought to pull them back into darkness. With determination surging through her, Sarah stepped forward, leading Jake through the light. "No more secrets, no more hiding. We embrace everything." As they continued, they entered a new world, a landscape filled with colors brighter than she had ever known. In that ethereal space, Sarah could hear the laughter of children echoing softly, vibrant and real. The sound danced around them, reassuring and sweet. "It's beautiful, Mom," Jake exclaimed, eyes wide with wonder that pierced through the remnants of fear. "It really is." Magical creatures flitting through the landscape reminded her of whimsical stories she had read to Lily, tales of friendship and bravery, full of hope. The corners of her lips turned up, a buoyant smile breaking through as they moved together. Here, joy defended them against the shadows, a sanctuary both vulnerable and strong, forged from love. "Look." Jake pointed ahead, where their path curved into a soft light. A figure stood at the end, radiant and familiar, its presence drawing them in an undeniable pull. It was Lily, her bright eyes sparkling like the sun, her laughter ringing through the air like a sweet melody. "Lily!" Sarah shouted, releasing Jake's hand as she ran toward her daughter, embracing her in a warmth that filled the air with a golden glow. The heaviness that had overshadowed their lives melted away, replaced by the unbreakable bond of family. "Mom! I was waiting for you." Lily's delighted giggle sent waves of relief through Sarah as she drew her children close. In that moment, time seemed to suspend, healing coursing through them like electricity. "We are together now," Sarah whispered, feeling every ounce of fear slip away. "We want to let the shadows win." "Not anymore." Suddenly, the air around them thickened, and shadows flickered at the edges of their bright sanctuary, whispering promises and threats. "You can't stay here, you belong to us," the voices wove into the fabric of the air, a reminder of the lingering darkness that wished to pry them apart. "No!" Sarah shouted defiantly, her voice resonating with power. "We are not yours. We are a family, and we choose love over fear." The light swirled, amplifying her voice, wrapping around them in a cocoon of hope. "We will not be haunted. We are stronger together, united in truth," she declared, feeling strength surge through her and her children, weaving an impenetrable bond against the darkness clawing at the edges. The shadows writhed, their howls turning to screams, drowned out by the force of the family's unwavering love and determination. The blinding light shattered their hold, pushing them back as Sarah held her children tighter. "Keep your eyes on the light," she urged, her voice holding all the conviction she could muster. She felt them igniting, two flames echoed within her heart, bold and unyielding. With one resounding declaration, the shadows dissolved, swallowed by light, their essence scattering like mist before the dawn. The laughter of her children rippled through the air, a testament to their journey. At long last, they embraced all of their memories, the light and the dark, the joy and the pain. And there, breathless yet complete, stood Sarah, Lily, and Jake, all of it behind them now, the weight of fear lifted. Together, they stepped forth into the world anew, forged from hardship but rich with the promise of love. As the landscape blurred into the horizon, the lingering shadows hung in the distance, mere wisps of what had been. Sarah turned to her children, a smile that no longer felt hollow painted on her face. "This is just the beginning. We'll face whatever comes next together." With a bond stronger than the darkness ever could shake, they walked hand in hand, hearts blazing. Fresh resolve illuminated their path ahead. Together, they could conquer anything. Thank you for being part of this journey with us. If you loved this story, you need to subscribe now so you don't miss any of our next exclusive adventures. Smash that like button too, it helps us reach more amazing fans like you. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about what's to come. A lively discussion awaits. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who would love joining us on this wild ride. Your support strengthens our community, and only true fans like you truly understand the power of connection.